You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Team Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Dallas After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Dallas After Show.
Hey guys, Bing is for doing. We're here doing the very first ever after show for Dallas, which came back after all these years. I'm your host, AJ Gibson. I'm going to let my lovely co-hosts introduce themselves because I've learned so many names tonight by watching this 2-hour premiere that I'm so sorry I will get all of your names wrong. So I'll start with you.
I'm Dorinda Barker.
I'm Allen Carillo.
And I'm Kellie Olisky.
So yeah, like I said, this was quite the premiere.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and it was a 2-hour and 15-minute premiere, which I didn't really understand. It
was a little
and
strange.
It was broken down into an hour and 15 minutes and then a second hour. I don't know what TNT was thinking, but
Who does that?
apparently TNT. So I didn't watch the show back in the day. I know my mom did. I remember parts of it. I remember the whole Who Shot JR scandal and all that going down. When I was a little kid. It was on originally back in the 70s and 80s. Is that right?
78, right?
Yeah.
78 to 91.
Yeah.
All the way to the 90s.
Yeah.
And then there
all
was
the way
two
to-
movies that came out afterwards in 96 and 98.
Really? Well, there
I
you
saw
have it.
one of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Of course you did. Did you watch the original series back in the day?
I did. It was so weird. My parents lived for the show.
Yeah.
Which was really weird because we weren't allowed to watch TV. But for some reason, we're allowed to watch Dallas. We weren't allowed to watch Scooby-Doo because there were ghosts. I'll tell you that story later.
He was raised Jehovah's Witness. We'll get into that at some other point.
Yes, I was raised very religious. But it was so weird. They lived for the show, so we watched it all
Now,
the time.
was this the same era as Dynasty and those other
Yeah, well,
those
this
shows
is-
all kind of big back then?
I think this is what started it.
Yeah.
Dallas is what started the big thing. And Friday nights was the time to watch TV. And everyone would gather around because this was right before cable, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I think so.
And you would get together with your friends or family and you would watch Dallas. People lived for this show. It was crazy.
It's so interesting to me that Friday night used to be a big night for television. Now, if you get put on Friday night, that's like a graveyard. It's this
Right.
I know,
fast
now
track
it's
to
Sunday
cancellation.
and Mondays that
Yeah.
are the big nights.
Yeah.
But
That's
no,
weird.
Friday night it was the thing, and that was before the whole TGIF. It was, Dallas and then Dynasty and Knots Landing.
Falcon Crest
Falcon
was
Crest.
on
Yes.
right after Dallas.
Yes. Which one was
the
the spinoff? Was it Falcon? There was a spinoff
Knots
of
Landing.
Knots
Knots
Landing. That's what it
Landing.
was. That's what
I
it
know.
was.
I know TGIF. I remember
Yeah.
TGIF because Patrick Duffy, actually, who plays one of the Ewings,
Bobby.
he plays Bobby
Ewing.
Ewing,
Yeah.
was the dad on Step by Step.
That's right. Well, and one thing I love is that the intro to this show is pretty much the same as it was in the original show.
I thought so. I
Yeah.
remember at least that much.
The music was completely the same. Obviously,
Yeah.
the skyline has changed a little bit since 1979.
Right.
Yes.
But, they still had that Cowboys banner going by.
Okay, we're going to
Yeah.
get into the whole Cowboys thing in a bit, but
There's
that
so
seemed
much.
to be a
Well,
bit
I'm from
much.
Texas,
Yeah.
So we can't bash
but You
Texas.
cannot. I will not allow it.
Watch me. So to start off the pilot episode, we have John Ross, who is the son of JR. Right? Correct?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I will
yeah.
go way off here.
Right.
Yeah.
He and his girlfriend Elena, they hit it big. They find oil on the
On Southfork.
On Southfork.
Ranch. Yeah.
Which is weird because every time there's someone that hits oil on TV or a movie, they always dance around in the oil. I just feel like
It's so dirty.
Is that bad for you? Is that gonna
Yeah.
get in your mouth and your eyes?
And what I'm thinking is, I'm like, why? Obviously he said cap it, but they let it go for a while. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
money flying through the air. I'm like, I was like, be holding
That's
that
a
in a cup or
lot of
something.
money,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone,
So,
especially prices now, start
yeah.
running around getting crazy.
I don't know a lot about oil, but I'm like, do something about that. You think you'd have a plan in place for such an
Right.
I know.
Set out some tarps or something.
tarps.
I don't
Yes.
know. know.
You never know.
So yeah, so basically the new idea is they brought back some of the original characters, some of the, like the legacy type characters. They've got JR and Bobby are back. Sue Ellen's back, and then they bring a couple other ones.
Who looks
in later.
amazing,
Yeah,
by the
right.
way.
Yeah, she really does.
She really
really,
does.
really does.
But then they introduced this new generation of Ewings, and it's now Bobby's son, correct?
Christopher.
And then JR's son, John Ross.
Right.
Correct.
And they're cousins, and they are kind of, they're setting up this rivalry between them because John Ross finds oil, which is what the family's known for. That's what how they've made their millions over the years. But Christopher, he's looking for alternative clean energies.
Correct.
And he's working on harvesting methane, I guess, out of,
Yes.
out of
the
China.
ocean.
Which
Yeah,
I-
from the
yeah,
ocean
From
floor.
the ocean, correct.
Which I thought was a good spin. It's
Yeah.
very appropriate for 2012.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting to me that there's somebody who's there's this character that's in Dallas, Texas, willing to go like against the norm and against the big oil industry, big Republican Texas that is run by oil.
George Bush.
Yeah, both of them. And he's willing to. His character's willing to go against that and try something new. I think that's kind of cool.
Right. So it's completely unrealistic, is what
Completely
you're
unrealistic. Science,
could happen.
Yeah, science and Texas do not go together.
Right.
I know that much about Texas.
Hey.
Thank you.
No applause for that.
It was the way he was even selling it to the gentleman at the country club, and they were not even having it.
Not having it.
Not having it because
Right. It's
oil
like
is
telling
in
a
it.
Texas to be a vegetarian. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Oprah tried that. We all know how that
We all
turned
know.
out.
Don't
Although
even
she
mention
did,
it.
saw how that went.
she did win that court case. I'm just saying. But no, I thought it was interesting though that Christopher Ewing, his dad Bobby, was a little bit more. He's not quite as ruthless as JR. And Christopher, as we see very early on, doesn't seem to be quite as ruthless as John Ross. So he kind of they take after their dads a little bit.
Right.
But he was in a meeting with one of the men early on trying to sell this methane, this idea. The guy tries to offer him like a deal or a price that's not really worth what he thinks it's worth.
Right.
And he looks at him and says, "I ain't a virgin, but I ain't a whore either." I like that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you got that Ewing in you. They've all got a little bit of it. And
yeah.
as the two episodes unfold, we start to see a little bit more of that. That these Ewings are all cut from the same cloth.
Well, I think it just kind of goes back to the original because Bobby and JR like fought the whole time. In fact, he mentioned that in the first episode in the beginning. He said all those fights, blah, 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 when he was depressed and not speaking in the beginning.
Yeah,
remember,
which is weird.
which is a little strange. And all of a sudden he came to life when the money came. But it's basically setting it up to be, a mirror of their parents.
Yeah, because Bobby actually went to visit JR in the he's like in a home essentially, like an
he's
assisted living sort of thing.
clinically
depressed.
Which
yeah.
I found that to be, no offense, I found that to be a little far fetched.
Yeah, it was a little.
We did chuckle during that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, it was a little like it seemed a little bit like movie Psycho. Like Warren Beatty's mom up in in a rocker looking out the window. Like I was like just sitting by a window, like staring off into space.
But it's kind of one of those things with this show, and I think this is a reason why it never got remade before until now, is what were you going to do with him? I mean, and as we see unfold when he finally snaps out of it, his character is such a ruthless character that's so underhanded and knows how to play everybody and just sees everything from every angle. What else were they going to do with him besides stick him somewhere where he can chill out for a minute until he has...
Because what would explain what's he been doing for the last 20 years?
Exactly.
Well,
he
that is
always
true.
has to be, manipulating something.
Yeah.
So what else could I? So he got shot, like 17 times back
Yeah.
then?
I know.
He's been shot a few times. What I thought was the most funny part was like the nurse came in when she's like this when Bobby walked in. He's clinically depressed. It's like she wrote it down or
It was so
something.
deadpan, yeah. Well, check that off the list. We know what it is now. He's clinically depressed.
But we have him on the best medication.
Yeah.
I want what he's having.
It seemed a little silly, but I did like how Bobby went and tried to talk to him. He said, "Look, I'm over all the things that we've done to each other in the past. I want to move forward. I want to have a relationship. I've always loved you." And JR, whether he was faking it or not, didn't respond at all.
Right.
Right. Well, he did mention later that he did hear everything that he was saying.
Yeah, but I think that's all part of his plan, though.
I think so
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And you got to think too. I think one of the reasons why Bobby did that because we find out early in the episode that Bobby has cancer. So that's kind of leading all of his choices on what he's going to do. Throughout the show now.
And he finds out that he has cancer just a couple of days before his son, Christopher, is supposed to get married to his lady,
Rebecca.
Correct. I get these two ladies mixed up a lot, but he's supposed to get married to Rebecca. So Bobby makes the choice not to let anybody in the family know just yet. He's kind of dealing with that on his own. He's struggling through it. He's got a surgery scheduled for the Wednesday after the wedding, so he figures get through the weekend, keep it to myself.
Right.
Don't want to ruin the wedding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the poor guy is like holding on to his.
Well, I think all the stress because he finds out that John Ross has without permission drilled on his land, struck oil, and he's really upset because in his his mother never wanted anybody drilling on that, and he made a promise.
Miss Ely.
Yes, and he made a promise, and Bobby's with that kind of character that he's not going to break that promise no matter what. So I think it's we find out he has a tumor in his stomach.
Yeah.
It was a gastrointestinal or something,
something
right?
like gestational tumors. Or
So
something like
I think that all of the stress and him getting so aggravated at his nephew is really
He's like clutching his side, but he'll still get on that horse
he will.
and ride to go look at that tree.
Right, to go look at that tree with their names carved in the side of it.
It's very sentimental.
It is.
Yeah, because did you notice it had Jock and Miss Ellie
Yes.
there too, which was really sweet.
That
And
was
it had
sweet.
Christopher and Elena.
It did have Christopher and Elena on that tree. Maybe that tree, there's there's something to it.
Some history
The
with that
tree's
tree.
seen a few things. So right now, though, Bobby is married to, and what is her name?
Anne.
She's new, correct?
She's new.
Yeah.
Mary Alice from Desperate Housewives.
Yes.
She played Mary
yes,
Alice, the woman who killed
right.
herself in the narrator of the show.
That's very
I'm so
right.
excited to actually see her and not just hear her for an entire series.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think she's great. I love her. I think they have nice chemistry together too. Her
They
and Patrick
do.
Duffy.
Well, she had big shoes to fill. Let's talk about Pam real quick.
Yeah,
The sex wife.
Oh yeah,
Victoria Principal.
Yeah.
She drove around in that red Mercedes, living, whipping that hair around. She was out of control.
Very Dallas socialite. I
Totally.
mean,
Yeah.
she played that part to the T.
She had shoulder pads to here, and she would walk into a room and just like hit, and flip. Like
She gave
completely
Sue
out of
Ellen a
control.
run for her money.
She did.
and flip.
That's my
The
new
thing
one.
about it was Sue Ellen was a little more brazen than she was. She was
Right.
like your typical Southern belle, where Sue Ellen was always rough around the edges, kind of, and she had the drinking problem and
Right.
the drugs. And,
I love
you
a good
know.
drinking problem.
Oh yeah,
Right.
you can write good
Absolutely.
stories about
That's what
that.
I think. That's what I think is actually a little bit missing because Sue Ellen is sober now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is JR. But like they used to just drink and drink and drink.
There was a lot of drinking in
There
these
was
two
a- they're-
episodes.
they're
though.
trying to
They're
bring-
pouring a lot of like scotch. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, that
that's
is
what.
true.
Yeah. That's what
yeah.
they-
So I mean, there's drinking. It's so funny to me when I watch these things. Whenever I see like, I don't know. I watch Young and the Restless and Victor Newman and Jack Abbott, like the big shots. And Tucker McCall, the big shots on the show. They always have like crystal jars of like scotch like sitting around, like always. Like that's just a normal thing to do in
Right.
the middle of the afternoon.
Well, isn't that what you're drinking?
Yes. No. Jameson, Irish whiskey.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
That
we're not,
was just
we're
so
not
funny to
promoting
me.
liquor.
Well,
Right,
now
at
and
all.
they upgraded to not only alcohol. Now they're people are getting roofied in the episode.
I know.
You
Yeah.
know, so
There were
it's
some
getting
roofies.
scandalous.
Right.
They're trying to stay current.
Yeah,
Right.
they are.
Yeah,
They
and
are.
getting
What's more
video
current than a
tapes.
good roofie?
That's true.
Right.
I mean,
Mixed
Yeah.
with scotch.
yes, right.
Right.
We don't condone this.
No, not
No,
at all.
not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Expressed herein are those of the hosts only. Do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
You're gonna have to play that a lot tonight. Trust me.
That scared me.
So, right.
This is my first show, by the way, everybody.
Yes, it is. Welcome.
Yes,
Welcome.
Ryan and I know
So I'm
each
hearing
other.
things in the earphones. I'm
Ryan
like,
and I
what
have
is
known
that?
each other for a couple of years, a lot of years. If you guys know anything about Google us, you'll figure out how. We have a history. No, but this whole wedding, this lead up to the wedding, like there's so much going on leading up to this wedding. I mean, Christopher is going to marry Rebecca, correct?
Yes.
Then it turns out we find out that his cousin John Ross is dating Elena. Elena and Christopher used to be together.
They were gonna get married.
They were going to
Yeah.
get married, and Rebecca knows this. And Rebecca, she seems like a sweetheart at first.
I love what she says.
But
I
yeah.
wrote it down.
Yes.
What did she
Do
say?
tell.
Everyone has a tell.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I learned that from my father playing poker. Everyone has a tell.
And she
Right.
says that to
She says that to
Elena.
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 In her
Because-
wedding dress in the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Fully just living.
Because
Yeah.
apparently her maid of honor or whatever can't make it, and
Yeah.
so she asked Elena to step in, and she's like, I don't want to be a bridesmaid. No, not at all.
Well,
Well,
at
actually-
John Ross's suggestion, because
Yes.
he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was on
That one.
purpose.
That was a good-
terrible.
that
I
was
want to
very
say this
shady. I
show
loved
is
it.
really, really confusing. Like, I feel like, especially because I don't really know, like, anything about, like, the original series, I feel like I need to, like, catch up. I feel like I need to, like, I don't know, go on Amazon
I think
and get
all-
every
Yes.
season and watch them. How could I do that? I don't know.
couldn't.
I could log on to AfterBuzzTV.com, click on the Amazon banner at the top right corner. I could buy every single season of Dallas on DVD, watch it, catch up, and then I will know what I'm talking about next week. Will I actually do it? Absolutely not. But if you guys have anything you'd like to, if you guys want to catch up on Dallas, or if you want to buy your Father's Day presents or anything like that on Amazon, which is a great site to do those sorts of things, if you guys did click on our website, like I said, AfterBuzzTV.com, and then click on the banner, there's an AfterBuzz, or there's an Amazon banner, and you can make all of your purchases there, and it doesn't cost you a penny. It takes one more click, and it really helps us out, and we get a little kickback. Helps us to stay in this beautiful studio and to do what we do, which we love so much. So if you guys can do that for us, we'd really appreciate it. And maybe I'll do it so I can have a little more insight for you guys next week.
That's the thing. That's the way that it always was. And it's one of those shows that you really have to pay attention to because there's so much going on and it's all on top of each other. You have one scheme on top of another scheme on top of another scheme, and that's what keeps it so interesting. Yeah. And I'm curious to see how these youngsters are going to keep that going because they have big shoes to fill themselves just passing the storyline along.
They really do.
You know.
And they're much younger too than the original characters were. Like Bobby and JR were definitely in their latter 30s, 40s doing this whole thing. So
there was no young characters really on the show.
No, I mean there really wasn't. Lucy
was the youngest one, like one of the younger ones.
Who now looks like the oldest one on the show.
But we got to see Lucy and Ray.
It was so good to see they were still together.
It is. It will be interesting to see how that plays out because obviously, like the legacy type characters on the show are the strongest actors. All of them are great. I mean, JR had some phenomenal scenes, and like
he's fantastic.
Yeah, and
he doesn't skip a beat.
A lot of these shows have been brought back in recent years. Some of them, work like 90210. It's still around, and that was a younger cast, and they've kind of stuck around. But then, like I know Melrose Place tried to come back, and they went with a younger cast as well. And there's something to be said about a Heather Locklear in her 40s. That a 22-year-old can't deliver the lines with the same like ferocity that some of these older actors and actresses can.
Well, especially with the concept and the storylines that they're given, it's really hard to be believable when you're that young and trying to deliver the concept of these shows.
Yeah, because it can very easily, and I'm not saying this has happened yet, but could very easily become like these bunch of bratty young kids who are just out of college. Like, well, I dated her, and then you stole her from me, and now I want to get back at you. Like, it doesn't have it doesn't carry such weight like as the original series. These big titans essentially of oil.
Well, because the original was very just rich and powerful. The characters were powerful, so it's very hard to believe that someone's powerful at a young age.
And I'm sorry, Southfork, not that impressive. Like the grounds are impressive. Again, I go back to Young and the Restless. I go back to Victor Newman's mansion or his ranch on Young and the Restless. It's kind of like that. I'm like, if you have that much money, that's where you live. Like some of the,
it's more about the land, and riding horses.
But Southfork is like a sanctuary.
They could have done a remodel over the last 20 years.
Because it's
Miss Ellie's place. They're not going to touch it. They're not going to drill on it. They're not going to renovate it. They're not. It is what it is.
But like from the helicopter shot, it literally looks like it's a 2-bedroom house. It doesn't look very big. It's like, where are all these people sleeping? How are they all staying? Like how in their state? It's like a lot going on.
Yeah.
You can go to Texas and take a tour for $10.75 a person.
$10.75.
Yep, and they do weddings there and shenanigans.
Really?
Yeah, it's a full thing.
So Southfork is an actual thing. It's not a place.
Yeah. It was on Top Chef last season because it was Top Chef Texas.
Oh,
and they went down there and did a full cowboy meal.
Oh yeah, even on
cowboy meal.
Oh,
country.
On Revenge, they even pay homage to Southfork. And they have a Southfork Inn, like their hotel that everyone has their little tryst at. It's called Southfork Inn.
It's very much a Texas staple.
I'm such a well-prepared host right now. I'm like, I have no idea.
Well, don't you think Dallas also sort of set the tone for all those nighttime?
Oh, they did. I bring it up all the time.
Right. Revenge is very much, to me, sort of in that same Dallas and Dynasty. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. No doubt. That's where they took their cues from there for sure.
There's just no horses.
So that's the thing.
Did you say
horses?
No horse?
No horse.
No, there are. There's tons of horse.
I want to see how these kids are going to hold these storylines. Because technically, I mean, they're pretty much kids compared to what the show was before.
Well, they get into it. I mean, the very first, in the pilot episode, there's a big wedding on Southfork, and it's again, who am I looking at? It's Christopher. Christopher, Bobby's son Christopher, marrying Rebecca.
Right.
And we find out that, like I said, he had been in a relationship 2 years prior, was going to marry Elena, who's now with his cousin. Well, as everything starts to unfold, how does it work out? John Ross asked Elena to go do some research on Bobby's new method of
basically to spy on him.
Spy on
Christopher. That's correct. And she actually doesn't. She comes back and she says that she didn't find out anything. Well, he has somebody else investigating Christopher as well, and he does get information. So when John Ross takes this information to Christopher, Christopher flips out and assumes that it was Elena, and he runs after Elena, pulls her aside, slams the door, and starts laying into her. Like, how dare you? I told you these things in confidence. How dare you then run to my cousin and, throw me under the bus like that? And she's like, I didn't. And then as they're arguing, it comes out that she's like, you never thought I was enough for you. And he's like, are you kidding me? I wanted to marry you. I waited. I was at the altar. I waited for hours for you. I waited for 6 hours, and you bailed on me. She's like, you sent me a letter and told me you didn't want to marry me. And he's like, whoa, what? And this apparently had all happened 2 years prior. Turns out he never sent a letter. Somebody else sent a letter to her.
So he thinks he got left at the altar. She thinks he broke up with her. Yes. So she bolts to Mexico.
Exactly. And they both went in opposite directions. And it just
and then
out of heartbreak.
John Ross goes and finds her in Mexico, which leads him to believe that John Ross is the one who sent the email.
Like, why would he just happen to know she's in Mexico?
Exactly.
Yeah. But then we're thinking that John Ross did do it, and then we find out at the end of the second episode that he doesn't know who sent the email either.
At least that's what he said.
Because
he wanted to hire a private investigator to find out.
Yeah, because Christopher goes after John Ross at the wedding and goes up to him and just shakes him. He's like, I know what you did. And John Ross has no idea what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. John Ross is a scumbag, but it looks like he may have not had anything to do with this, which makes me think it was JR.
Absolutely.
It could have been.
Right. He's a conniver.
Yeah. He goes in at every angle, which we see because he's at at his rest home or wherever he is, trying to play the victim, and he doesn't open his eyes, and he's not giving any responses when people are pouring their hearts out to him. And then John Ross goes over and talks about he wants money, they're going to sell the house, and all of a sudden, boom, he's awake.
Yeah.
And
the switch is turned on.
And we find out that he's been manipulating this whole deal that Bobby thinks that he's doing to turn the house into to conserve the land.
Yes, is that where it is? It is a rest home.
I think
it felt like rest home-ish.
It looked rest home-ish. I don't know. Was it like
what on earth is a rest home?
Well, like a
elderly home,
a retirement home.
What is a rest home?
Maybe that's my southern.
That's what I thought it was too.
That's my southernness.
I know rest home.
I've never heard of that in my life.
But did you notice his meal was like lobster? I'm like, this is like a sickening rest home. That's where I want to go.
Well, did you like what he said to John Ross? They do a damn good fried chicken here at the Jello too.
Go get me the red Jello.
Go get me the red Jello.
There was no shortage of like southern Texas jokes.
No.
I mean.
I mean,
a lot of these things. I saw them serving brisket at one point. I mean,
absolutely.
Cowboy Stadium was in the show a few times. The first episode ended there, which was really weird.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Let's get into that a
little
bit.
What is wrong with that?
No, first of all, I think it's a great scene, and I know they put it in there just because of Cowboy Stadium, which is an amazing stadium.
It was beautiful.
It was a beautiful, but there was no reason for it. But when you pull back, it looks awesome. Right. But that's about it.
Is that for me? I hate the Cowboys. Is that why we got that applause?
We're supposed to be unbiased here.
No, we're not. Not at all. I've never hosted a show with me before. I'm not unbiased at all.
I was always told if you're ever going to bet on football, always bet whoever's against. Always bet against the Cowboys and you'll win.
I don't think that's true. You won't always win, but you'll feel good about yourself because the Cowboys are cheaters.
I'm letting you know.
They buy championship teams, whatever.
No, but that scene was hysterical. They were standing in the middle. That was like they came from opposite sides and met in the middle.
It was like the music is going.
Right. Which is a long walk.
Yeah, this is a very long walk.
Yes. I mean, it's
a football field.
Exactly.
So do we think it was strictly just product placement,
of
or
course.
is it about or could it be just like about a power thing because the stadium is so huge and it's a big staple in the city?
Please, they could have met at Starbucks.
And taking over.
They could have met at Starbucks.
Right.
It could. I don't know.
Or by the tree.
But I think more importantly, though, this is the moment where we actually meet Marta, who we had seen in a red Ferrari. We'd seen John Ross walk up to somebody and give a handshake like they were working on a deal, but they didn't show who it was. And I think I know I did. I assumed it was some powerful man, just because that's the first thing that popped into my head. Sexist, whatever. But I just assumed it was some dude. Turns out it's Marta, the Latina hottie from south of the border in 6-inch heels. and a pencil skirt. She was hot.
Yeah, she was.
Marta.
But she did have a weird walk.
She did have a strange walk.
Like, it was a little weird. Like, it looked like her shoe was, like, too big for her
I think
foot.
they were too high for her, I think.
Yeah, like she walked a little bit like she was actually a linebacker for the Cowboys. And a pencil
Which she's
skirt.
fair. She needs to learn how to walk in
Yeah,
heels.
she is.
I want to know who she is.
She's complicated because from the beginning, we meet Marta with John Ross. And then she's at... we actually met her first in a helicopter. In the helicopter with Bobby. Bobby thinks that she's going to take over the conservatorship of Southfork over the land. Yes. So he thinks that they're working together. Then we find out that that's actually the same person who was in the red Ferrari who John Ross met in the middle of the football field. And then we find out that JR is actually working with Marta, and John Ross walks in and, oh my God, JR is working with her before I was. And JR says something to him like, son, I've been doing this a long time. He's like, do you think I put all my eggs in one basket or something along those lines? I forget what the actual line was.
It was something about oil. It was about oil.
You didn't think I put all my oil in one barrel.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he said Bobby may not be stupid, but I'm a hell of a lot smarter.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was a great line.
JR he can deliver a one-liner.
Yes, he can.
He's got it. So like now we're finding out that Marta, she's involved with every main character of this show, but we're not really exactly sure at this point who she's really working with.
Right.
We find that out a little bit later. We find out that she's actually working with John Ross. Correct.
Yes.
Because
but then there's a twist.
Then the twist, she's working for someone else. There's someone else,
Right.
and I don't want to misspeak because I don't remember what happened to this character, but it would just make sense if it's Cliff Barnes.
That's what I wrote in mine.
It would make sense if it's
Cliff
Cliff
Barnes
Barnes.
in brackets.
Exactly.
was that an original character?
He was an original character who, at the end of the series, not the movies, he got control of Ewing Oil, and he was sort of JR's like nemesis the whole time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Back and forth, and there's something about a kid that's, I forget which kid, but there's someone that's like a half somehow, whatever.
Could she be that kid?
Or maybe Sue Ellen has a kid with him. I don't even know. It's so many characters.
Yeah.
But I definitely think Cliff Barnes is going to make a little research. I was thinking that too. I'm like, what happened to him? Is he in this? Or
Because JR kept asking to speak with Marta's father because he says, a man is as good as his word. I want to have a conversation with your dad. I want to talk to him. So get him on the phone next time. And she kept stalling. In the meantime, she's sleeping with John Ross. She's doing her other things. So JR takes it upon himself to fly down to Mexico because he had known Marta as a little girl. Because he'd done business with her father.
Right.
So he flies down to Mexico to meet with father, and the father knows nothing of this deal. And he's like, well, I've been working with Marta. He's like, well, let me get her in here. And JR looks a little bit confused. Marta's in the next room. She walks in. Not the same girl. Completely different Marta.
Right.
No.
Another hottie,
Right.
but not the same Marta.
Right.
So JR, the look on his face is like he may have actually been duped. He always looks like he's 2 steps ahead of everybody these 2 episodes. And at this point, we're kind of wondering, is he?
Well, he makes reference too. He's like, you need to meet my son, John Ross, because we're cut from the same cloth. So, which means, he thinks just the way that I do. So I have to be extra. I have to pay extra attention.
Yeah, and because remember, JR saw the two of them,
Yeah.
swapping
low.
So
spit.
he was
Right, getting
already
low.
was already kind of skeptical about what was
Yeah.
going on. And even we hear earlier in the episode too that they make reference to Cliff Barnes because John Ross says to Sue Ellen, I don't want to lose my birthright because Cliff Barnes stole Ewing Oil from back in the day. So that could totally be what's going on. That could be our mystery.
It's very layered.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
No, it's not even layered. It's like a web. It's like there's so many things intertwined that like at least a layer, a nice lasagna you can pull off a noodle and you have nice conformity. Like no, this show is everywhere. Everything's like so intertwined.
We need a chart or something.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm not good with charts.
do like a tree.
spreadsheet
Yeah,
of some
tree
kind.
all the-
Right.
Yeah.
There's one on Wikipedia.
I'm sure there is.
Print that out for you.
Go ahead, you take care of that. That's your task for next week. Because then also Marta, she's sleeping with John Ross. Even though he's with Elena but they kind of split because she thinks that he wrote the letter. So Marta sleeps with John Ross and drugs him. And he wakes up the next morning like with a headache, throwing up. And,
Not only that, but she had him not tied up hardcore because he had like marks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They were getting
So
crazy.
I don't know.
Some people-
I don't
some
want to
people
know
are into
what's
that.
on that videotape. That's all.
Yeah, she
I don't
recorded
want to
it.
know. Yeah,
Right.
she recorded it.
Remember she went like this?
Right,
And then she like hit a little button and all of a sudden it started recording.
I was like, that was awesome because she didn't even look. She was like,
Yeah.
He was just
like I didn't understand that. Like I said though, like I'm like I have no problem roofing somebody. I have no problem recording somebody, but I don't do them simultaneously. If I roofie them, it's not going on camera. But if it's going to go on camera and there's ropes involved, that's a whole different thing.
Also, roofing someone, don't they normally pass out?
Yeah.
So like, but he seemed to get a little more riled up.
He was already starting. You know, you saw him doing this with his eyes. Yeah. He was starting to kind of get woozy. I mean, it takes a second to kick in.
Really?
And that's what I'm saying. When,
oh yeah.
Okay. Really?
No,
How long?
No.
Takes exactly 5 minutes.
No, I actually had a horrible experience. Like it happened.
Now I feel like a jerk.
Yeah,
it's
too soon.
But to me and my friend at the same time, but she actually, you know, had drank all of her drink and I hadn't yet. But it really. You get out of it and you can't see and it's horrible.
So that goes to my point. Like, how's that going to work?
No, but that's what I'm saying. But you know, by the time he drank it and goes in the bedroom and that's what I'm saying. Like, she really had him tied up. Was she beating him when he was passed out? Like, what was she doing?
No. And then what did she say? She goes, "Do you really want to mix business with pleasure?
Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, are you sure you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Ooh, where is this gonna go?" Because that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
It's totally creepy.
I
think she put Viagra in his drink.
Well, I wouldn't that wouldn't make him that dizzy though. Wouldn't make him start to blur.
Well, I guess so.
We all taken Viagra, right? No, just me. All right, cool. Here's the thing about me. I'm known as the guy who has one story for everything in the entire world. So I'm going to share with you my roofie story really quickly. One time when I was in my early 20s, I was in college and we were out at the bar. I was out with a girlfriend of mine who was crazy. She was nuts. And somebody had bought me a drink. And all
Your
of a sudden,
sister?
No. Also nuts. No, but we were sitting there and somebody had bought me a drink and all of a sudden I was sitting there for a little bit like just still like this, holding my hands on the table, like not moving, like just trying to focus on something. And all of a sudden she's like, "What's wrong with AJ?" And all my friends like, "What's wrong with AJ? What's wrong with AJ?" And I start hearing them and she's like, "Oh my God, somebody roofied him." And like the thought would never have come into my head ever. But she's like, "Oh my God, somebody roofied him." So they're all like, "Oh my God, AJ's roofied." And the person who bought me the drink, we didn't know where that person went. So I'm sitting there for like a solid 10 or 15 minutes and my friends are all freaking out. And I'm thinking, so now I'm convinced that I've been roofied because I'm like, I can't move my body. And I'm thinking, that's what I didn't know. I don't know what roofies are. And I'm sitting there just freaking out. And so like finally like a half an hour goes by and all of a sudden I just like, I'm fine. Out of nowhere. Turns out I didn't get roofied. I just drank too fast and I was really, really, really drunk. And they started making me drink water and I was fine. So I've never really been roofied.
Do you know how many times I've heard these stories?
I've heard these stories 1,000 times.
1,000 times. 1,000
So
times.
I like to think I was roofied once, but I wasn't because I never actually left my seat the entire time. So.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm always trying to find a roofie because I try to save money on liquor.
You're so embarrassing.
Terrible.
But let's get it going quicker.
Yeah, we need to move on. So
we do not condone roofing people, by the way.
At all.
Where's that thing? Where's the
Thank you.
But I think videotaping people's okay.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised they haven't played that little sound bit more for me. I host a lot of shows where I say a lot of things where they should back it up with that. We do not condone it. That is too funny. But hey, guys, like I said, this is our first show here. We're all just meeting each other for the first time. He and I obviously know each other. But this Dallas show, it's complicated. It's a tangled web. We're trying to work through it. But we want to know what you guys think. We have some of you guys out there on iTunes who listen to us and rate and comment and we hope you guys follow us each week. Let us know if you guys have been fans of the show in the past. Maybe you guys can help by commenting on iTunes. Let us know what we're missing because there's a lot of missing parts here right now. We've all got little bits and pieces, but we want to know what you guys think. So if you guys get it on iTunes, rate, comment, click, let your friends know about us so that we can fill in these pieces slowly because right now, I feel, me personally, I'm drowning. I know the name of the show and that's about it. So if you guys can do that, we'd really appreciate it and it just makes us look good. And only comment if you like us. Don't say bad things, please, unless it's about Ryan.
Please.
So moving on. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. We wrote up deception as our next topic, but like that's also been the first two topics.
Everyone. Yeah. Okay, so we in the beginning we have John Ross who deceived Bobby by drilling on the land without permission. So there's the first one.
Who has no respect for his grandmother because he already, he said that.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
That was kind of a rude comment.
And that, I'm being from Texas, I can say most people, Texans, have really great manners. So to hear that was very disturbing because no matter, family's a big thing in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very unfortunate. But that's the thing that we find from this family is they are driven by money and power. So that's the thing about, they always you know, money wins out. They don't care who they have to step on to get there, which we see. Because then it's, you know, John Ross goes to JR. JR's, you know, trying to dupe him and Bobby. And then with the lawyers now involved. And then this Marta chick who we don't know who she is.
And poor Bobby, like poor Bobby's trying to stay above the fray, and he's trying to raise his son that way, and he's got cancer.
Yes.
So like he's trying to like stay away from all this, keep his son away from all this, and they're getting dragged into it because his son also, Christopher, was trying to stay out of it, and then he got blackmailed by John Ross.
Right, but which he didn't let it stick.
But he didn't because he went and talked to his dad and said, "Look, Dad, you know they were drilling for this methane in the ocean off the coast of China, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And it actually did it spark a small earthquake or something like that?
Yes,
It
that's what
it caused an earthquake. I don't know.
There you go.
There you go.
So now the Ewings are also God. We all know God did come from Texas, clearly. So he came clean to his dad, and he's like, "Look, Dad, I don't want to, you know, mislead you at all." So then his dad, you know, now having this information, so that kind of takes a little bit of power away from John Ross, and kind of just made him mad. But then kind of like infuriated his dad and kind of made his dad like now he's in this. Even though he's not quite as in it as JR. And we see that when JR shows up at the gala, the ball, the
Cowboys,
the cancer fundraiser.
Yes, Cattle Barons Ball.
The Cattle Awards.
Barons,
Yes, the Cattle Awards.
That Sue Ellen invites Elena to.
Yes, she
because
does.
now she's in bed with Elena because Elena couldn't get the land for the Henderson Ranch that she thinks has a lot of oil, and Sue Ellen is now loaning her the money.
Right,
And
while she's running for governor.
Yeah,
exactly, but not helping her son.
And
exactly.
Elena says she found what, 1 billion gallons of
about a billion barrels.
That's a lot of barrels.
She said if she's right, she has to drill for it and make sure that it's there. But with her
scientific
calculations,
because she went to
and all
Sue
that.
Ellen asking her because she sits on the board at the bank that she was trying to get the loan from, and Sue Ellen says she asked her to speak to the other board members, and Sue Ellen goes, "Honey, I'll just give you the money. I'll loan it to you because you remind me of the kind of girl that I think I would have been had I not married JR back in the day."
Yep.
So she appreciates
she likes
that.
her drive and her ambition to make it on her own.
So then she invites her to the gala that evening.
Which also going back to the original, Sue Ellen got all of JR's money in the divorce. She cleaned them out. So that's why she's really, really rich. So she's very, very rich.
Yeah, and they show that, and that's actually one of the parts I like. That like her office, like she was in like a boardroom, and it was like in a huge like penthouse type of skyrise in downtown Dallas, which is cool. I like how like at least if they're going to have Southfork, you have to have these more modern settings as well to kind of like update it a little bit because if the whole thing just takes place at Southfork, then it's just really.
Do you know how many on location shots there were? It was like everything was like on location, whether it was like through the window or just them out somewhere. Hardly any sets except maybe that gala thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be an expensive show for TNT.
Right.
I bet they're you know really banking on this thing doing well.
You think they could afford to trim JR's eyebrows though? Because they were little. They were. If I was watching on my 3D TV at home,
silent film.
It hit me in the eye.
Somebody tweeted that do
Really?
JR's eyebrows get their own credit?
Yeah, sure. They actually have.
Watch, JR's eyebrow will have his own Twitter account
Yeah, I know,
by the time.
right?
Like Angelina's leg.
Yes.
Really? If a gust of wind came up and he had a little hairspray, he would lift up off the ground. I'm just saying.
They're terrible.
Sorry.
But that's what kind of, instead of having the evil mustache, he has the evil eyebrows.
That's true.
It's true because they are scary.
His eyebrows are so scary.
Yeah.
But he like I said before, like he is such a legend though. And I don't think I really understood this because I didn't really grow up watching him. And I've seen clips and things I know of JR. Everybody knows about JR. He's one of the most well-known characters of in television history. But he did not miss a beat. Like when he finally came out of that little depressed coma thing he was in, he was killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he showed those young boys in every single scene. He's like, he showed them what's up. He carried every scene.
He's like, this is how it's done. Even when he wasn't speaking, when Bobby was speaking to him, he was just staring that whole time.
Right.
I don't know someone who can pull that off. A lot of characters. He's such a he came from the stage.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's so great. And
I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie. A couple other things that he's been on. I mean, this is what really everybody knows him from.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. He was the astronaut.
Yes.
That show was on forever too.
I remember that.
With Barbara Eden.
Can we talk about how the maid Carmen was on Lost season 3, my favorite show?
Oh,
Who was she on Lost?
She was, I don't even remember what her character's name was, but she was on that, and she was also the transporter chief on Star Trek, the new movie.
Oh, you're such a nerd.
I'm such a dork.
I love it. But no, she's all.
I know, you did say that when we were watching it. She goes, oh my God.
Oh my God, I love the maid.
Well, the maid is actually Elena's mom.
Yes.
I wonder if is she the maid or just the cook? Because the way John Ross refers to her is he's telling Elena, you'll always only be the cook's daughter.
Well, you know what? It's all the same to me.
So-
If they work for
The
you,
reason
they
why
a
she
maid.
seemed maidish to me is
She's the
because
help.
It's because
Terrible.
remember she brought the sheriff in. Oh, the sheriff's here to see what cook is going to be
Right.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cooking and
she
like.
But I'm
runs
just
the
trying to
house.
think. Maybe a cook is a little bit more of an elevated status. I'm trying to give her some
So
props.
she's the help. Way to go, Dallas 2012. We still have a Mexican lady working as the help on your show. Fantastic.
But there was a blonde
Hire
Mexican
some white
girl.
people as the help. Come on. Lord.
Ridiculous.
It's just embarrassing. Come on, Dallas.
It is. It really
But
is.
people in Texas are really polite and nice.
Yes.
They really are.
Too funny. Anyways,
They might
we
be a
have
little
a
racist,
couple more
but-
topics we're going to get into here in a minute. What is there anything? See now, there's so much.
Well,
Episode 1 and 2 kind of blurred together for me.
one of my favorite quotes from JR real quick is never pass up a good time to shut up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
love
think
that.
I want to tweet
I
that
wrote
out
that too.
forever. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that quote.
It
That was
was
fantastic.
hands down the best one of the night.
Yes.
That was a good read.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
was. And on that note, I'm going to actually shut up for just a moment and let us go to commercial break. How about that?
Let's do it.
Is that a transition?
That's
a perfect
Almost.
one.
Let's go to
Yeah.
commercial.
Hey guys, what's happening? We are the America's Best Dance Crew ABDC After Show coming to you guys. We watch the show every week just like you, and we go every Friday to the set to interview and talk to the crews behind the scenes and let you know what is happening behind the scenes.
Hey guys, this is the AFTERBUZZ TV crew for The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Woo! Don't forget to tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. to see
Adrienne Barrow,
Deanna Vaughn,
Susan Hahn,
Giselle Ugardi. Buzz you later!
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
So Ryan, what do you think about that reintroduction right there, the AfterBuzz TV guy, the porn star voice? You like that?
I do. Is that your voice?
Yeah, no, AfterBuzz TV. I always love that. Whenever somebody's in here for the first time, I always like to see their reaction. You, unfortunately, were tweeting, so you didn't really pay attention to
I was
it.
paying complete attention.
Just like our entire relationship, you weren't paying attention. We're not going to go there yet.
Too
We're not going to
soon.
go there yet.
Too soon.
Dallas
Too
drama
soon.
Dallas
going on.
3.0.
So
That's on the AfterBuzz.
right. So in the second episode, the first episode was called Changing the Guard, which made
Yes.
sense. The second episode was called Hedging Your Bets. And we've already talked about a lot of it, but I'm just going to go over a couple of things really quickly. The episode opens up with some honeymoon sex, which I'm not mad at. Some good honeymoon sex. Even though I feel like what's his name?
Jesse
Jesse
Metcalf.
Metcalf.
I know him. Christopher.
Jesse
Jesse
yeah.
Metcalf.
Yeah.
The same person.
I know.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Now we're calling him by his actual name.
Oh,
okay.
no, I thought
don't
you
know.
were gonna
Midway
talk
through
about
the show.
him personally.
No.
Okay.
No, but he's with the wrong girl.
Oh.
It breaks my heart. You know,
Yeah.
after they found out the information about the letter, I thought maybe that would change things and maybe they'd call off the wedding, but they didn't. They're on their honeymoon, but they decided to come back quickly. And it wasn't really his idea necessarily. It was his wife's idea. Turns out that she's also working
Shady.
with... Yeah, she's shady too.
A grifter.
Yes, she's working... What did you say?
A grifter.
Yeah, good
Yes.
work. Nice. She's working with her brother who came into town for the wedding, and they've been working on something for the last couple of years.
Right.
And if you notice, the letter that was written to Elena was 2 years ago. It was 2010. It was dated 2010. So it makes me wonder now if Rebecca and this guy were involved with that 2 years prior.
Could be.
Or if maybe one of them, or they are the kids of this Cliff Barnes.
Right.
I'm
Maybe-
not convinced that's her brother all the way.
There's something
There's
going on.
something weird.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
a little
That's a little
creep-tastic
weird,
about that,
right?
too.
Like I felt like he was like leaning over her shoulder. I'm like, are you gonna?
He was
kiss
calling
her
her sister too much. Like,
Wow.
you know,
Right.
like
he said sis.
Yeah,
I never
was
call my
like-
sister sister.
The brother
Yeah,
was
I
also
was-
friends with Christopher too. Like they were like
Yeah.
arm in arm, like buddies. Like
Yeah.
so, there's obviously a big deception going on here.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how he met Rebecca, was through Tommy, you know,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm just not really convinced that's his sister. It's a little too weird.
There's a lot of deception going on. And at one point also, I forgot to mention this, in the last episode, there was an intruder at Southfork.
Yes.
How did we forget about this?
Oh, yes.
And the wife, what's her name?
Anne
wakes up in the middle of the night.
Gangster.
Yeah, she went gangster and grabbed a shotgun.
Right.
Yeah, she
Which
did.
the shotgun was kept in the kitchen.
Yes.
The full
like a
gun
good
case in the
Texas
kitchen.
family should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, she was no joke. She even
She
did.
cocked
that gun.
She
like,
was like, I don't
she'd done it
miss.
before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was ready.
goes, oh,
That's why we love
yeah.
Republican women, because they can shoot a gun.
I do love a good Republican. But no, but then while she's recovering from the shock of this person running out the front door and through the yard at
Not
Southfork.
running out the front door, shattered through the glass,
ran through a
screaming.
window.
Running away at Southfork. She goes back inside and she tries to figure out what this person was looking for. It looks like they were looking at documents of her son Christopher's findings with the methane and things like that. And then as she's doing this, she's bent down underneath the desk of her husband, Bobby, and she finds a bottle of pills. That's when she finds out that he actually has cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she keeps it to herself for a couple of days, I think out of respect for him, because she wants him to be able to be a man and open up to her when he's ready. But he goes out horseback riding the next day or the day after maybe. And he's out at the tree with everybody's names carved into it. And she follows him out there, and he's kind of like bent over a little bit, holding his stomach. And she walks up to him, and she's like, "When were you going to tell me?" He's like, "I've never been able to keep many things from you, have I?" She's like, "No." And they just kind of hug, and it's kind of a sweet moment.
Right.
There's that embrace.
They're a cute couple.
They are. I really like
do.
them. I really do like them a lot. And then he tells her, he's like, "I'm having surgery Wednesday," and she's just like, "Wednesday? That's like tomorrow or 2 days from now or whatever."
Right.
And she's like, "Well, we need to call Christopher." And he's like, "Well, no, I don't want to ruin their honeymoon." Well, they end up coming back anyways.
Yeah. Well, they never really go.
They never
leave because it's like they're having that.
They spend a night in a hotel or wherever they were, and then they're back.
They don't go.
Yeah.
But I really like Anne's character because she's a good woman and very respectful, and also we see that she's strong. She did not get scared and go run for him when there was an intruder. She was going to take care of herself.
She seems very grounded, which I'm sure that'll change at some point, but I kind of like that because I think it balances out some of these other characters. You can't just have a whole bunch of evil characters. It's just too much.
Right.
But I think that she brings a little bit of levity to these situations, and kind of like when they were at the ball, the gala for the fundraiser. She was just
the cattle awards.
Yes, the cattle awards, Ryan. The cow ball awards. She just seemed like she was very appropriate and very
well mannered, very calm, has a very nice energy about her.
But I don't think she's naive though.
No, I don't think so either. I think she's very smart, very strong,
Mm-hmm.
and is gonna, she's gonna step back when she needs to. She's not in your face, but she absolutely, I don't think she's dumb.
Sometimes
I think
there's a lot of strength in silence.
Oh yeah.
And I think she understands that well.
Yeah. And I did like what JR said to her. I liked you better than that other one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which was Pam.
Pam.
I love Pam. But the whole thing, he's like, "You're much better." But he was just saying you have a little bit more, because Pam was a little bit of
trash.
I like it. I think the show has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I think it really does.
I'm really curious to see how it's all gonna play out with all these different characters, and if they can keep it going.
I think the first half hour of the pilot episode was a little bit rough.
Yeah.
And then it started to pick up.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of an introduction. That's why. Kind of trying to catch everybody up, introduce the characters.
And it's so tricky, especially when you're bringing back a show that people are so attached to and then reintroducing all these new characters. It's a tricky thing to do. And pilots in general are essentially just like an hour of like information always anyways.
Right.
Very few shows, I think we've talked about this. Lost is one of my favorite series of all time. The pilot of Lost was absolutely groundbreaking and just phenomenal. Very few shows can do that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Breaking Bad.
Oh,
is that another one?
Breaking Bad was
Phenomenal
great,
pilot.
Yeah. Very few
Revenge
shows
was too.
Yeah,
Revenge was a good one.
I've actually
Revenge
seen the
got me
pilot.
in the first.
Yeah, very few shows can do that. I don't think Dallas did itself a whole lot of favors in this pilot because I didn't think it was that great. I thought the second episode was better.
Right.
Yes.
But also, it's coming back. So all these other shows were brand new, so you don't have anything to compare it to, which I think it was a little, to their,
And it's coming back with so much expectations. I mean,
Right.
Who Shot JR was 90 million viewers,
That's
360 million worldwide.
Like
It's
we think we live in a time where like we see American Idol's ratings for all these years that were like 30 million viewers on American Idol, and we're just blown away by that. But like 90 million viewers,
just crazy.
You have to think 90 million viewers back in the what was that, probably late 80s, early 90s.
Before there was DVR. Before there was
that was literally.
So that means you're sitting in front of your TV on a Friday night.
82.
I mean, at that time,
81, 82.
And at that time, there were probably 250 million people living in this country. There are just over 300 and some million now.
Pretty much everybody was watching that.
Half the country watched it. That's crazy to think about. That's a mind-blowing number.
So they have a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how many rewrites that.
Rewrites? How many rewrites? How many rewrites it was?
Well, you know, Patrick Duffy gave an interview that, you know, he and Linda Gray and, I can't think of who plays JR.
Larry Hagman.
That they all were very reluctant to do a remake and never thought one was going to happen because of that. Like, where do you go? How do you bring it back? But when they read the treatment for this, they were like, okay, and that's how they all got on board.
It's a double-edged sword. I think they could be lucky that they're on TNT because you don't have to pull in 10, 15, 20 million viewers an episode. But at the same time, though, TNT also doesn't have the budget that an ABC, CBS, NBC has. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think if they can pull in a few million viewers an episode, or 2, 3 million an episode, they might be okay for a while.
Yeah.
Just get through the summer is what I want to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't disappointed.
I wasn't either.
I'm interested to see another show. So.
I was pleasantly surprised.
I think Jesse Metcalf needs to get on a treadmill because I remember what he looked like when he was the gardener, when he was banging Gabby Solis on Desperate Housewives.
He's supposed to be a little
I don't think
thicker.
so. No way.
If we want the women to look great, the men need to look
exactly.
just as
Thank
good.
you.
And if he's competing against John Ross, who is complete T, by the way.
He's a hottie.
He is really...
He's a hottie little bad boy.
I like that complete T.
Complete T, like the T's T.
Yeah.
T's T. You'll hear a lot of that this season, I'm sure.
He's really T.
Lord.
And Jesse Metcalf, after his sex scene, he put his underwear like up to here.
Yes!
I think it was the mirror.
I'm like, what's going on?
It looked like he was wearing man spanks. Like he pulled them up so high. I was
literally.
like,
I'm like, which he could use some spanks. So.
Good.
Last time.
I mean, he's still pretty. He's still.
Yes,
he's got those pretty eyes and a little 5 o'clock shadow. I'm not mad at it.
He's all right.
No.
Yeah, I like the bad boy though.
I like the bad boy
Well, the
and
bad
the
boy's
brother.
always hot.
The
brother could be cute actually.
Yeah.
Him backpacking, getting crazy.
Pretty whitewashed show now that I think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of white people.
Yeah.
And a Mexican maid.
A Mexican maid and a black sheriff.
Come on, come on, TNT. Pull it together. It's 2012. Right. Wow. Anyway, so do you guys have any gossip or any news about the show
I mean, it's pretty much all that we've been talking about. People were just curious to see how it was going to play out. You know, it's getting mixed reviews, really a lot. You know, some people really liked it. Some people are thinking that it's basically a cookie cutter just with younger people. It's the same thing, which it kind of is.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing or not. I mean, we'll see as the episodes play out.
I also think that America's at a place right now where we're very nostalgic. The economy has been bad for enough years. We've been through enough wars lately. We're very nostalgic, and that's why a lot of these things are being rebooted and remade and rethought. A lot of these old shows that we grew up with, that we felt comfortable with, that we loved. And Dallas, I mean, what better show than Dallas to bring back?
Absolutely.
Remind us of the happy times.
Yes,
Reaganomics.
Reaganomics. Before we had 2 presidents from Texas ruling the country. I'm just kidding. I like George Sr. Anyway, so let's go into predictions then. Let's go right to it. Oh, here you go, Ryan. Your first time.
And now
the lights. Nope, he's not doing the lights.
TV.
I'm so excited. There they are. There they are.
What does that mean?
Thank you.
Is that the prediction?
Yeah, we're like psychics right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna predict things.
I feel like we should put masks on.
Oh my God. We're not the Jabberwockies. Continue.
Well, since Christopher and Elena look like they're going to be working together, there's definitely something going to be there. Though I don't think he's going to put it out there. I think she is. Yeah. I think she's going to go after him and really put the fire onto that one, to be honest with you. So that's my prediction.
Ladies first.
As I think she should. I mean, I think she might be regretting the fact that she didn't argue. She didn't try to fight back when she got this mystery email. She just bailed. That really
I have a problem with that.
Well, but you got to think too. She's the maid's daughter, so all the insecurities and like all of that. So I think now that she's stronger, she's got a career of her own that she's establishing. She's gonna fight a little bit. So I'm gonna.
But
be
he
happy
is
to see
married.
that. Yeah, well,
6 of 1.
when you're, when it's the one, it's the one, right?
There you go.
You gotta fight
there
for.
You go.
You gotta fight for what you want.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta go. She's a Texas girl.
Gotta get in where you fit in. Come on, Korea. What do you got?
I have Cliff Barnes predictions. What we said earlier.
Okay.
I definitely, he's going to come out and there's going to be this whole shenanigans with the Ewing oil. I think it's going to be him. because it's just appropriate, because that's what's very much back with the original.
Right. You want to know my prediction? I predict next week I still won't know anybody's names. I still won't have a clue what's going on. I'm so lost right now. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for helping me get through this, because I know the name is Dallas. The show is Dallas. We're going to be here every week at AfterBuzz covering this. So we hope you guys check us out week after week. Like I said, get on iTunes, rate, comment, and tell your friends about us. Share our videos on YouTube. You can follow me at _ AJ Gibson on Twitter.
You can follow me at Lula Cherry Films on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Kellie with an IE079.
And mine is Ryan A. Carillo, 2 R's and 2 L's.
Have a great night, you guys. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again next week.
All right.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.